Is the
Hel-
camera good?
Yes. Hello, Suzanne. Thank you for joining today. I will not say morning. For me, it's early morning. For you, it's afternoon in Australia. And
That's right. Yeah.
I'm talking to
Okay.
Suzanne Staples. Do I pronounce your name correctly?
You did. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, Suzanne Staples, and she is a naturopath, herbalist, homeopath, and iridologist. She lives in Australia and has been working in the health and fitness industry for over 30 years. Um, she has also lectured in Ayurvedic medicine for the Yoga Arts Teachers Training Program. Suzanne has started a Facebook page called Iridology Readings and Health Advice, where people can access free information and iris readings to improve their health. I invited her to share her experience in relation to the study of the iris because I got really interested and it's part of the naturopathy. So, Suzanne, for how long have you studied naturopathy?
Well, I started studying a long time ago, and that was in Sydney when I lived there. And we studied for that course was 4 years full time. Yeah, so it was quite comprehensive. We did a lot, and a lot of people dropped out because they didn't understand that you had to learn so much about anatomy and physiology and all the diagnosis and a lot of medical terminology. And yeah, but it was wonderful. I loved it. Yeah, and my iridology was a part of that course. Yeah.
Yeah, in Australia, they're quite ahead in naturopathy. That's what I
Yes.
know. Um,
Yes.
and iridology also is part of the Vedic sciences and the Chinese medicine as well. And in
Mm.
18 something, it has been like recognized like science from a person. So quite recently it has been recognized as a separate science, but people quite far behind in time, they have been reading the eyes. So what can
Yes,
you
that's
read?
right. Yeah.
Yeah, what can
What
you
can
read
we read? Yeah.
from the
Well, I
eyes?
always say to people, it's nothing that you see in the iris is a terrible diagnosis because it's really just giving us a picture of that person's strengths and weaknesses. So what we can see is their constitution, which we tell by the fiber of the iris. So some people have a very fine fiber, some people have a very loose fiber, and that tells us about their constitution. And your constitution is what you inherit from your parents and what you go through your life with. So you can tell if somebody has a very strong constitution or if they have a less strong constitution. Let's say that they're not good and bad, they're just different. The people that have the strong constitution, we call that a silk iris. So if you can imagine the material silk, it has a very, very fine weave. So when people have that type of iris, they're a silk. And even though they do have a very good constitution, they're not going to get sick very often. And if they do, they would recover quite quickly. But they tend to be prone to emotional disorders. So if they're feeling stressed or a bit out of sorts, that would often make them sick. So they have a finer nervous system. Their nervous system is much more highly activated. So that's the silk iris. And they also tend to be people who push themselves a lot, which is very interesting. So the
I might
silks
be
are
one
the
of
ones,
those.
you think you're a silk, yeah,
Might be
yeah,
one of those that push in times and then they need recovery.
yeah.
Yeah.
So they often need to find that balance again, to come back to not too much striving all the time. I always say to my clients, like, the silk will be the person who climbs to the top of the mountain without having a break, whereas the other types might sort of plod along and go, oh, let's stop and have a cup of tea or. So that's why I say there's, it's not just good and bad. But as we go around and look at all the different fibres. Then there's a silk. Then there's a linen fibre, which is the material, again, like linen. And then there is hessian. So hessian has a much more open weave. And then there's a net, what we call a net iris. And so people always say, oh, well, the net people must have a very bad constitution. But no, because if you picture a fishing net, some fish can just swim through the holes in the net. So the net people are very good at just flowing through life, and they're much more able to know what they're capable of doing and what they're not capable of doing. So that's very good, just to give you a picture of that person's constitution. Yeah.
That's
so there is,
because you lectured in Ayurvedic medicine. So would you compare these types to the Ayurvedic types, like doshas, the different doshas in Ayurveda?
well, yes, and in Ayurveda you've got the Vata, the Pitta and the Kapha, so you've got those three types. So we can't really say they're exactly the same, but we could say that the Vata are the much more ones that are the high achievers and tend to push themselves a little bit more. So possibly the Vatas, and that would be some good research to do, actually. You could have a look at all the Vatas, I'm definitely Vata, because the Vatas are always thin. They've got a lot of nervous energy, that type of thing. They often don't sleep well, and they tend to have dry skin too. The Vatas, they're very dry people, and they don't like the wind. But on the other end of the scale is the Kapha person, who is the much more fluid type and the much more easygoing. So we could say the Vatas are more like the silks, and the Kapha is more like the net. Yeah, if you wanted to compare them to Ayurvedic medicine. Yeah.
And does the color of the eye matter towards the constitution and the character of the person, the diagnosis?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And in iridology, we say there are only two true colours, and one is the European brown, which looks like you have, and the other one is the Caucasian blue. So they're the only two true colours in iridology. So everything else you see is a combination of that. So if you get a brown-eyed parent with a blue-eyed parent, you're going to have a hazily green combination, usually. So you have to take that into account first, and then you have to look at what other colours are coming into play. And if we start that spectrum of colour, if we start at white, you would say white is the first sign. If you see some white in the iris, and often you'll see white flares, that is the first sign of something maybe not being right, some inflammation going on. But it hasn't gone too deeply into the system yet. As that white changes colour to, let's say, yellow, creamy yellow, and then maybe it goes to a little bit more orangey brown, this person has had that problem going on for a longer period of time, and they haven't got rid of it. So we're saying it's a lot more deeper into the body. And then if we get to black, seeing some black areas in the iris, then we would say that is some physical destruction in the tissue. Yeah, so we can see with those colours how somebody is doing. And we can see also the amount of toxicity, because sometimes you will see, let's say, what you think is a lovely bluey green iris, but it might have some orangey brown colour around the gastrointestinal area, which is around the pupil. So you would then probably come to the conclusion that they had some gut issues. They needed some detoxing. Yeah, so if there was some brown areas coming from the gastrointestinal area, we can see that some detoxing is needed. So that's another colour change.
And also the things that you can see in the iris, they might not be proved straight away if the person goes to make an exam or make some blood tests.
They want to make, sorry?
If the person goes to a laboratory and check their blood and go to a doctor, check for symptoms,
Yeah.
it may not show
Yeah.
yet, but you may see
It
it
may.
in the iris, yeah?
That's right. It may not show up because we're looking at a genetic tendency there. We're looking at what you've inherited from your parents and what your lifestyle has brought into play as well. But we'll often see what things, if that person is not looking after themselves, what things that may be a problem for them. And that's why I say it's nothing all terribly bad, because if we get it before it becomes a problem, then we can say to that person, oh, look, you've got a tendency to, say, hardening of the arteries. If we see some white areas around the outside, we can go, oh, it's looking like there might be, possibly that might be a problem for you. So that person needs to address that issue, or whatever it might be, a little bit of, brownish discoloration in the gut. We know the gut needs healing. So there's always things that we can do. And you're absolutely correct, Ellie, that you may not see it from a laboratory test or a blood test until it becomes a lot further down the track. If that person hasn't addressed those issues, then yes, it could definitely become a problem and would show up. Yeah.
So do you think this is the reason that iridology is not completely recognized by the medicine? Because medicine, they want everything to be proven within tests and
Absolutely.
scientifically.
Absolutely. Yes, I think you're really spot on with that, because, they just want to know what's, what's in the blood and what the test shows up. And although, that's changing too, because now you can get DNA testing, you can get your genetic genes tested. So, we can know what people, if they're not looking after themselves, what they might be predisposed to with that. But I think mostly medicine is pretty scientific and straightforward in that they need to have the proof that something is going on. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why they deny some of the good ways,
Yeah.
naturopathic ways of diagnosis.
That's right.
Like the
Absolutely.
Ayurvedic as well, they completely
Yeah.
deny this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Naturopathy, they wouldn't deny it, but they also, many people have been banned from
Yeah.
this profession. Also herbologists. So when a medical person hears this name, my mom was a doctor as well, when she hears about homeopathy, she will be like, I will not go that way. Opposite of me, completely opposite of me. So,
And of course, it depends on your training, doesn't it? Yeah, what you've been trained in, because then that's what you know.
Yes, this is conditioning in the medicine. So people who have been that way, they know that everything is physical. That's why they're called physicians, because they're people of the matter, mainly.
Yeah.
But
yes, yeah.
Lots of doctors that started to, medical doctors that started to go in the naturopathic way as well. So they combine both things together.
That's right. Yes, and in Australia we call that complementary medicine, and it's great when you can combine the two, because we still need doctors for certain things, absolutely, but there is so much that we can learn and understand from naturopathy and iridology and homeopathy and herbs. It's wonderful, because we can't always just be fixed by taking a tablet. It's not the way to go, in my opinion. I think we really need to embrace a much more holistic lifestyle. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you see these tendencies in the eye, what an iridologist can do? Can you prescribe something for the person to go back to balance?
Yes. Well, because I'm a naturopath as well, for me, I always used it just as a form of diagnosis. I also studied Chinese tongue and nail diagnosis as well. So, and we were taught, to look at other signs in the body, take the blood pressure. So you would take it all into account and get a picture of that person. But the eyes just give you such a great picture, and of course you can diagnose just with that. But I would always look at the whole person, and then, yes, I would make some recommendations on whether they needed to do some cleansing or whether they needed to start a specific diet to exercise. Of course, the nervous system people like the silks that I mentioned before, they're the ones that often need to take magnesium, and they need to do lots of deep breathing and meditation and relaxation techniques to try and get back to balance in their bodies. So, there are lots of things that we can recommend to people so that they're not going to go down that path of getting sick. If we see that tendency in the iris, then we can address it and do something about it. Yeah, definitely. And that's what I love about it, and I think Chinese medicine doctors were very much like that as well. They were about keeping their patients well, not just treating them when they got sick, but actually helping them to stay well. And I think iridology is very much in that same vein, that we're helping people to stay well before things become a problem.
Yeah. The thing is, people, they go to Chinese medicine or iridologists, acupuncture, this kind of alternative medicines quite late, after they've tried already anything with their GPs, doctors, and they refer to this kind of alternative treatments when the things are gone already a little bit far. So
Yeah, often people do it as a last resort. Yeah. Which is a shame, but that's at least they've come there, they've come that far, and maybe that's their journey. But we all have a different journey to go on with our health, don't we? But I think on the whole, a lot of people are having health challenges in this day and age. There's a lot of things that our bodies have to contend with, with all the mobile phones and a lot of environmental toxins and, of course, processed food. There are so many things that are detrimental to our health that, I think we really need to look after ourselves. And, I've been on a health path ever since I was in my 20s because I wasn't healthy growing up. And then I got very sick at 21. I had meningitis and was in hospital, and could have gone, but I didn't. I stayed, and I realized that I had to change my health and do something about it. And so that's been such a blessing for me, because I've just then made that my life's work, really, to keep myself healthy and to help other people as much as possible. And I've loved doing it. I've raised my 2 children, 2 boys, and we would never need to go to the doctor unless, they were boys, so occasionally we had a broken arm or stitches or something, and then we needed to go to the doctor. But apart from that, no, I had taken responsibility for my children's health, and I think as a mum, that is so empowering when you can do that, and not have to be handing their health, your children's health, over to somebody else.
I think the medicine now is going that way. Slowly, they call it healthcare 0.3, where they intend people to learn more about their connection to their body, to what's happening in themselves. So I think now it's going there. It will take lots of time, probably decades, until people start taking responsibility for their own health.
That's right. Yeah.
And because you've got a Facebook where you're doing readings, iridology readings, Facebook page, so would you say that what percentage are you correct when you see a person's eyes, when you read the person's eyes? Would they tell you, yeah, that's correct, or would you tell you, no, that's not?
Well, yeah, that's interesting, because I started that page only a year ago, and I have 350 members now, so I thought, oh, that's pretty good. I found you, and I found many other people, or they found me. Let's say they found me.
I found you, yeah, because I was researching about iridology, and I got interested recently.
Yeah. So the reason I started it was I did practice. I had a full-time practice for 30 years, and then I burnt out a little bit. I needed a break, because it's quite a lot of hard work to be always looking after someone's health. And I needed a break. So I did have a break for a little while. But then after that, I thought, I've got so much information and wisdom still in my head that I want to share with people. So that's why I decided to start that page. And actually, I've also written many, many health articles. So every now and again, I put up one of my articles up there as well. And I wasn't quite sure how it was going to work. I thought, oh, well, people can post their irises and I'll just see if I can, have a look. I didn't know whether it was actually going to work, because when you've got the client there, it's much easier to see their eyes, and also you get more of a feeling about the person because they're there in front of you, so you can intuitively know what their problem might be. So I didn't know how it would go, but I must say, I only do short readings. People can have a longer reading if they want to, by Facebook Messenger or Zoom or whatever, but just the short ones. I have been really surprised that most people go, wow, you're spot on. And I don't take the credit for that. That's just iridology. That's just because iridology is correct and it works, and I just want to give them a little bit of overall taste of what maybe they can work on, So we're not going too deeply in those consultations because it's only, of course, it's just on a Facebook page. But I love to just give people a little bit of an idea and maybe a few little tips about what they can do to improve their health. Yeah. And I have been surprised. I've been surprised when so many people have gone, oh, that's amazing, it's spot on. And it just, I guess what it does for me is just keeps on reinforcing how amazing iridology is. It's quite surprising.
Have you been thinking to make like workshops for basic constitutions, and just to give a basic idea for the people what they can look for in the eyes? Because I tried to take a picture of my eyes, but with the phone it's not very clear, and I think the clearest pictures we got at all, it was in the Science Museum, where there is a thing, like, I don't know how to say it, but you can put your eye there and they take a picture of your eye and you can really see it. This is in the Science Museum.
Yeah.
I should take
that would be great.
again. And
do that.
Exactly.
There is, if you've got a mobile phone, on my camera, the camera on your mobile phone, mine has a setting called macro, and it means you can take it closer up. And if you can put it on macro and then get somebody else to take a photo, you can do it quite close, and that's great. That works really well. Otherwise, sometimes it isn't quite so clear, But most people seem to manage, and mostly I have been able to see. Some of them have been a little bit, too unclear that I couldn't say anything. But mostly that it seems to work well. And yes, just in your response to running some workshops, I love teaching. I've done a lot of teaching over the years and I really enjoy it. And I would like to just do a short masterclass on an introduction to iridology.
Yeah,
and that will give.
That would be great if you do this, like introduction about the constitutions, like they do this in Ayurveda. Not too deep maybe, but if people want to go deeper, they can have different courses, different workshops on that. And I've noticed, I have to tell you, I've noticed lots of people recently when I started reading about this, about the white ring that goes around the iris. And it shows high cholesterol. Is that right?
Yes.
And
yes.
I always connect this to the vegetable oils that people are eating in the fast food industry.
Oh, yes.
A lot of people are eating this KFC, where they fry a lot, and McDonald's as well. And not only there, everywhere. Also some cultures, they fry a lot.
Yes. Absolutely. I would agree with you there. Those hydrogenated fats are so bad for us, really. We should only be, eating or having olive oil is one of the best ones. Of course, the Mediterranean diet, I always talk about that a lot. I think as a general diet for most people, it's a very good diet, and they use a lot of olive oil. I still think coconut oil is very good, but some people don't do so well with coconut oil, so therefore you have to be a little bit more discerning with that. But really, most other oils, get rid of them. We don't need them.
Even though that they are vegetable oils, they're quite detrimental to your circulation.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you asked me before about I think we said, do the eyes change colour? And they can change colour.
My father's eyes changed color after he's been, I would not say attacked, but he was playing with a cat that she just had little ones, and she attacked him, and his eye changed color. It became like bluish. He's got like mine eyes, hazelnut, brown hazelnut, but it changed to blue. Not for a long time though. It got back into the same color, but at the moment it was just quite whitish blue or something.
Right, that maybe some inflammation was there, maybe some white over the top or something from. It's interesting. Well, the man who, one of the first people who discovered iridology, I think what he saw was, I think it was an owl. This is quite a long time ago, and he noticed that the owl had a broken foot, and it had a black spot down the bottom of the iris where the foot would be. And as it healed, he noticed that that black spot went away. So that was one of the first people who started working on, what we can see in the eyes. But we all know that when we feel good, our eyes are clear. We always say that, oh, your eyes are looking really clear today. So we know that they can change colour. But as a good example, my eyes, when I was 21, I had my first passport, and on my passport I had brown eyes. And I thought I had brown eyes. And then I started studying a few years after that, and we did our first iridology course, and they put a slide up on the wall, took a photo of our irises and put them up on the wall. And I looked at my eyes and I went, oh my God, I've got a blue eye. I've got blue eyes. I'd never seen that before because I'd never seen them blown up so big. And really, it was a blue eye with a lot of brown sludge over the top.
That's interesting.
Because I had had a lot of antibiotics as a child. I wasn't a well child growing up, so I had a lot of respiratory problems, and my mother was very big into doctors, and doctors are gods, and we got taken to the doctor every time we had a sniffle, and I had loads of antibiotics. Now, they are one thing that will change the colour of the eyes. Also, I didn't have a very good diet, so by that stage I had brown eyes. When I started studying, I changed my diet, and I started taking herbal medicine and no more antibiotics ever again. And clearing up my system, and my eyes are blue now, bluey green. But so they will absolutely change. And if you are working on getting more healthy, you should see your eyes becoming lighter. Of course, for the true European eye, that is going to be a little bit tricky, but mostly you will notice that they will become a little bit lighter and clear, so you're on the right track then with what you're doing.
Thank you so much, Susan, because the time will kick us out from Zoom very soon. Okay, thank you so much for joining, and definitely we can stay in touch. Thank you.
Yeah, lovely, Ellie. Thank you so much. It was lovely to talk to you. All the best.